Now, I have to start this review with a disclaimer, and that's very important. I actually like coupe-style crossovers. Vehicles like the Acura ZDX, loved it. V6, all-wheel drive, it was a spectacular looking and driving vehicle. However, the rest of the world, yeah, they disagreed. Nobody bought it, and the vehicle was killed several years ago. But was it because it was a bad vehicle, or was it simply ahead of its time? Now that it's almost 2019, it appears that the coupe-style crossover is back. And surprising flag bearer is BMW. They have a number of coupe-style crossovers now, and this one is the latest. This is the 2019 X4 XDrive30i. Unlike the ZDX, the BMW manages to hang on to a more mainstream look. This is clearly a BMW inside and out. It just happens to be wrapped up in a trendy coupe-style crossover package. So is there an advantage over the more traditionally designed X3? Let's take a look. This 2019 X4 XDrive30i starts at about $50,000. The model we're testing today is loaded with options for a price of $61,545. Here in the back, we have the biggest disadvantage of the coupe styling, and that is in cargo space. You see, this one only has 18.5 cubic feet with the second row up. Fold it down and you're only looking at 50.5 cubic feet. That's as much cargo capacity as the much smaller X2. It's also important to note that the mainstream crossovers in this class, like the CR-V and the RAV4, which granted you won't cross-shop with this, but they are market leaders in their segment, they have up to 75 cubic feet. So we are looking at a significant difference. However, you do get some extra niceties back here, such as levers to fold down the second row. They aren't push buttons and they're not mechanized, so you're not going to be able to fold them back. You have to manually do that. Oh, to dread. You do get this removable little thing here for privacy. One thing that I really like is that this lower false floor actually has a little piston, so it stays up and that gives you a little bit extra storage. Combined with the floor rail system and this little spongy thing back here, you're looking at a rear trunk that is very practical, if not very large. And you get a couple extra bonuses back here as well too. You get single push button lock and close, plus this X4 also supports hands-free operation. There we go. Boop. Yeah, the space penalty, it continues here in the second row, where my head basically pivots against the ceiling. Although I do get a nice panorama sunroof, I also get my own air conditioning controls with vents, as well as a 2-cup cup holder. If I have an iPad or a magazine, I can kind of stick it there, though that's not really that big. And what's that? Oh, it's a little clothing hook. So they've really, kind of catered to all of the essentials back here, but it's just not very big for a full-size adult. However, anybody who's under 6'1" should have no problem. With the X4, you get one of two different engine options. You can either get an inline 6 that's turbocharged for 355 horsepower, or you can get what we have here. This is an inline 4 that's twin turbocharged, and it puts out 248 horsepower and 258 pound-feet of torque. It is connected through a sport shifting 8-speed automatic with paddle shifters, and it does power all 4 wheels because this is the XDrive30i. Up front here, it's very easy to mistake this for any other BMW. They all kind of look the same. In fact, this is practically a carbon copy of the brand new X3. And that's good because the X3 was better than last year's X4. So now this one brings it up to date. One thing I really like about BMW design is how it is uniquely BMW. And I know that sounds a bit, well, redundant, but it's true. When you get in here, it is a unique feeling. It doesn't just feel like another car. It feels like a BMW. I will say that the seat feels amazing, and it's got lots of options for configuration. I can even inflate and deflate the lumbar back here, which is nice. The steering wheel has just lovely leather on it with tightly integrated buttons, including adaptive cruise control on the left, and you have hands-free phone and stereo controls on the right. The center gauge cluster is magnificent. It really is. What they've done is they haven't just thrown a screen on like so many other car makers. They've integrated physical elements with digital design. You get lots of configuration options, and it also changes depending on what drive mode you're in. We'll get to that just in a bit. Above it, I get a nice heads-up display that has lots of configuration options as well. The center of this car is, of course, iDrive with its accompanying 10.3-inch high-resolution display. Here you can set up everything from navigation to communications to radio, and I can even see what the temperature is. It's currently 70 degrees out here in Seattle. How nice is that? Like all iDrive systems before it, this one not only supports push buttons down here, you can also write search elements. For example, if I'm in navigation and I want to enter address, I don't have to type it in, I can merely write it in with my finger. This is also one of the few implementations of wireless CarPlay. Yeah, Apple CarPlay, but wireless. This vehicle does come with the optional $400 charging pad, but the whole point here is the fact that you can do wireless charging with wireless CarPlay, which is interesting because BMW is the first company to offer wireless CarPlay. They're also the first company to start charging an annual fee for CarPlay, which kind of sucks. BMW, that sucks, but we'll look at it anyway. So I have a question here about CarPlay. This is the first car I've had with wireless CarPlay. I'm used to plugging in and using CarPlay in like 2 seconds. So my question is this: which is faster? Is it faster to plug in CarPlay, or is it faster to set up the wireless one? Let's find out. So first off, I am going to set this phone to, see, how do I do this? First, and I've never done this, so this is really the first time I've ever done it. How easy is it is the question. So let's go to, I think it was under communications, and then I can go to manage mobile devices. Under there I can connect a new device. I apparently need to pick the function, telephone, Bluetooth audio, or CarPlay. Let's go ahead and do CarPlay. Connect to Apple CarPlay and confirm. Please use your CarPlay device to search the vehicle. It will identify itself as 58314 CarPlay, which I have now done. It's now asking for a password. I don't have a password. It's not telling me a password. Okay, let's try that again. Connect Apple CarPlay and confirm. 58314 CarPlay. Boom, CarPlay. And it's asking me for a password. I don't have the password. Why is it asking for a password? I'm in the freaking car. Oh, for the love of. Okay, so 20 minutes later, I cannot get it to work with my iPhone 7 Plus. However, it took 2 seconds to get it to work with our camera guy Sully's iPhone X. So, if you have an iPhone, you might find that you have problems. Apparently, you might need to get an iPhone because it doesn't always work with an iPhone. We did the exact same thing on both. Worked here, didn't work here. So, that said, let's go ahead and explore it using this iPhone. It does support touchscreen, which is kind of neat. Although you also get gesture control. So if you're like me and you move your hands around a lot, you're going to find that you get a lot of misrepresented gestures, turning volume up, turning it down, or just changing the volume. However, I can touch away up here, which is kind of nice. I can use Siri, I can use Maps, it's all here. Standard stuff. And it is kind of neat that it also keeps BMW's info display on the right, so I can still see vehicle-specific elements, such as the efficient dynamic system when it's charging the battery and when it's spending the battery. And so that's Apple CarPlay. It's a paid subscription here on the BMW. It's wireless only, and it's kind of a pain if your phone doesn't seem to like the connection for whatever reason, like mine does. Moving on. We have a button here that is a car with a circle around it. What is that, you might be asking? It is the intelligent safety system. What that does is enables the collision mitigation, pedestrian detection, blind spot monitoring, cameras all around, basically everything you need to make sure that you don't run into something. Insert joke about BMW drivers here. Down here we have a Aircon that has nice physical switches, lots of physical push buttons. You're not relegated to the touchscreen display up here. This is one of those cars, you don't buy it, you lease it, because something's gonna go wrong here. There's just way too much stuff. and it just picked up my gesture or my touch or something. And just like, that's the annoying thing. I would just, if I had this car, I would immediately shut off these stupid gesture controls because they are just ridiculous. I mean, it just turned up volume again for me. Stop it! I talk with my hands. If you talk with your hands, this is the worst car in the world for you. Moving on, let's go ahead and drive this car and actually see how it drives, because honestly, at the end of the day, that's what really matters. Like many other BMWs, power is not the marquee feature here. It is mostly just adequate. I mosh the throttle, even in sport mode. It slowly picks up the pace. Now, keep in mind, this is the entry-level X4. It is not the high-end model with the turbocharged 6, and it only puts out 258 horsepower, which is fine, but you're not going to win any speed records in it, that's for sure. Now, the driving position is very nice, front and center. I can have a good visibility out the front. I have a heads-up display with lots of information, and visibility actually is pretty good between the mirrors, the back windows, side windows, and of course all of the advanced adaptive safety that BMW includes in this vehicle as options. I'm well covered in terms of safety. Now, it's interesting that even though this isn't the fastest model of this vehicle, BMW did include a really cool feature, and that's launch control. Yeah, they actually have launch control in a 4-cylinder. So let's go ahead and give that a try. First, we need to find just an open piece of road. This looks pretty good as any. We're gonna go ahead and come on in here. Okay, so launch control is pretty straightforward. Basically, I come to a complete stop. Okay, I disable traction control and make sure the car's in sport mode, and then I slot it over to shift. Sport. I then put the brake pedal down, put the gas down, launch control active, release brake, and I go. And 60. I mean, that's pretty quick, all things considered. It's not rip your face off quick though. This is really just about adequate performance, because keep in mind, this is a crossover. It isn't one of their M cars. It's just a car that you drive to the mall, you drive up skiing. It's great for all those things, but it is not uber fast, that's for sure. BMW's efficient dynamic system is interesting. It's kind of like a KERS system from Formula One. It uses a battery and a small electric motor to make the car more efficient, but it does not claim to be a hybrid. You're never going to be driving on electric motor only in this vehicle. It's like one step below a hybrid. But what it does is it gives this car actually pretty good economy. I mean, I'm getting 24.2 in real world driving with this vehicle. And I am not being casual with when I'm driving this. I am stabbing the throttle and stabbing the brakes. Of course, you could take the BMW into light off-roading conditions, but that's not really the point of this vehicle. It does have 8 inches of ground clearance, and it does have all-wheel drive, and that's to help get you through mud and snow and stuff that you just find every day. It's not for rugged off-roading. I mean, case in point, it doesn't have a crawl mode, and it doesn't have a low-range gearbox. It doesn't have a diff lock. It doesn't have a lot of things. But what it does have is excellent road handling manners. I mean, this thing is great to drive on the road. In spite of those 8 inches of ground clearance, it handles, well, like a BMW car. You can predict what the tires are doing. The tires have plenty of grip. Hey, actually, you can drive really quick in this and it doesn't feel all that fast because it just absorbs the speed. I mean, it doesn't get up to speed very quick, but when it does, it carries that speed through the corners thanks to fairly sticky tires and a very capable suspension setup. Turn-in is great, handling is great, there's very little body roll in the corners, and you kind of can easily forget that this is a crossover. So this vehicle also comes loaded with advanced safety tech. It of course has pedestrian and vehicle collision mitigation, but it also has lane detection. That means that I can basically just take my hands off the steering wheel and it'll steer itself, so long as it detects the lanes ahead of me. It also has blind spot monitoring, rear cross traffic alerts, all the cool stuff that you would expect in a car in 2019. In terms of being a crossover, this X4 really isn't the most practical. Fact is, the X3 has a lot more storage capacity and it costs less. Yeah, so driving the X4 is being a little bit of a slave to fashion. But the question is, will this fashion date itself like Hermes and get only better with time? Or will it be like Jinko jeans, where, you know, you're gonna point and laugh a few years from now? That's the serious question. And if those questions concern you at all, well, by all means, buy the X3 or buy any of the other compact crossovers on the market, because there are a ton of them. There's just so many really great options in this price range. You have to decide, do you want a BMW and do you want one that's as fashion forward as this X4? If both of those are a yes, you're gonna love this car. If you're, I don't know, then maybe you should consider something a little bit more mainstream, like the X3. For Driving Sports TV, I'm Ryan Douthit. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe, leave a comment, give us a thumbs up. Tell us what you think, because honestly, we make these videos for you.